Yeah.
We're not going to, why protect everybody to the nth degree so they cannot be resilient? Had an experience, this lack of motivation, lack of energy, just suddenly felt like I didn't care. You are not going to grow your business by sitting in the weeds of the stuff that you're not good at.
Our podcast would not be possible without our wonderful sponsors, Absolute Collagen. It's a simple daily supplement that stimulates your body's natural collagen production, improving skin from within, and their clinical trials speak for themselves. So if you're curious, try the Absolute Collagen Commitment and see what it does for you. Our guest for this week's podcast is the brilliant Jo Glynn-Smith. Jo is a coach, writer, speaker, and fellow podcaster. She worked for an incredible 25 years in the fashion industry before pivoting into coaching and helping leaders and women and business founders, which inspired her to start the Midlife Entrepreneur podcast. Jo Glynn-Smith, welcome to Second Act. So Jo, welcome. This is Jo Glynn-Smith, transformation coach, and we are so overexcited. I'm overexcited to have you on the Second Act. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness. Well, how can you adapt your fashion clothes as you age? That's the first thing I want to know.
Fashion oh, wow. That's a really tough one. I mean, I think as you age anyway, you are, well, for me, it's all about comfort these days. It never used to be as much about comfort. So now I want to feel confident in something. So I love a jacket because it covers everything. But I also want to be comfortable in everything that I do because I'm done with tottering around. Oh, you don't
What
wear
was the
heels
age
anymore.
that you just thought, I'm done? Because I remember there was an age where I'm like, I'm not doing heels, I'm not doing squishy clothes, I just don't care anymore. I want to be chic and fabulous, but I want to be comfortable. And I do think it's like a clock. Ding! What was it for you?
I think it is a bit of a clock. I mean, it was obviously COVID that kind of pushed me over the edge of that.
We all were lounge wearing.
Yeah, we were lounge wearing. And then once you've lounge weared, it's quite hard to go back into kind of constricting clothes. But I think it was post having kids, if I'm being really honest. Because once you've had children, you are rushing around like mad, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's really difficult to do the kind of whole, restrictive
Elasticated waist
white
became a part
jackets.
of your life. Oh, it's yes. How old are your children?
I wore my maternity jeans, by the way, for 2 years after I gave birth. So
We all do. Yes.
yeah. How old are my children? 19 and 16.
Yes. So you are past the sticky fingers phase.
You cope.
For me, I completely agree. COVID was a very scary, horrific time, but it also was a time of such rebirth for so many people.
Oh my God, it was
how
the
we
best.
lived our life. Like my career blew up. Was it for you?
Yes. So I got made redundant about a week before COVID lockdown. Yeah. So when we talk about, second act, and I know that'll be a question probably at some point.
Yes.
That was the real pivotal moment for me. It was like everything changed in that moment. And actually for me, the COVID lockdowns were the most incredible opportunity of my life.
I mean, so that's definitely the beginning of your second act. Same for me. Can you summarize the first act in 3 words, would you say?
Yes, so I've had a good think about this. I'm going to put gritty.
Ooh.
Gritty. So that's sort of courageous when you realise and recognise that it's going to be part of your growth and development, I would say. So definitely a gritty. Fashion.
Yeah.
I mean, my entire career was in fashion and I loved it. It was amazing. And the third one, I'd say inquisitive or curious. You can pick the word, but I think I've always been somebody who is just fascinated by people. I love finding out more. I love finding out more about what the other person's doing.
People are fascinated. I'm just like you, and I think people who are really successful are very curious about other people, other things. What's over there? What's over the horizon?
Yeah, and what did you do next? And what did you do before that? And how did you get here?
That's how you learn.
Those questions I think are so interesting to me. And I think finding out about people, for a start anyway, asking questions creates an amazing level of empathy between two people.
People want to be heard. People want to be seen. And I think that's why fashion is so important, because you are literally talking to the world about who you think you are, what you want to be, and also receiving. That's why when people say fashion and beauty is so superficial, I'm like, oh my God, it's so basic.
See, I'm not going to ever go along with that. I mean, I spent a large proportion of my career using fashion to make women, I was in the women's industry, so to make women feel amazing and confident. And don't tell me that it's not what every CEO worries about when they're about to go on stage and present. I mean, for men, it's an easy formula. Well, maybe up until now, because I think things have changed. Codes have changed a bit, haven't they? But certainly in the past, when I was working in fashion. But for women, it's always been a decision, and it's a critical decision.
I love that. Fashion is a critical decision.
Yeah.
Because you are judged in a way that men are not judged in the same way. Fascinating. So talking about fashion as being a critical choice, because it does ooze power, it oozes who communicates who you want to be, who you are to the room.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who feels they lost their fashion mojo?
I think we just need to spend a bit of time working on ourselves a little bit, like go into that wardrobe, just what makes you feel happy and joyful in that wardrobe? What makes you feel confident? Because quite often we've stuffed it full of stuff that we think is sensible or practical, or, you know, or I should wear that, or, you know, it's not very me, but I work here, so therefore I should do that. And I think those kind of decisions every day, if you can look in a wardrobe that's full of clothes that make you feel joyful and happy and confident and successful and you, then that's going to translate into your actions and your performance and every part of you. So I think I would start by going in there and just getting rid of the stuff that doesn't make you feel like yourself. It is.
Do you live by any advice or rules that you give yourself? Do you have any, you know, like Anna Wintour always has a sort of power blow dry at 5 a.m. And she definitely has a uniform. Do you have any uniforms or rules that you live by?
I think, yeah, I do actually. And they're probably quite small, but so eyebrows are really important to me, which sounds like a small, I know that's not clothing, but if my eyebrows aren't in check, I don't feel done. So that's really important. I do look after my hair because I like my hair and I want it to, you know, to do the job that I want it to do. I always think shoulders down. So I really like jacket. I've got quite big shoulders.
Yeah.
So I'm not very good at strappy tops, never have been, but I love a jacket.
Yeah.
And I think because I can wear it with anything and it always looks slick.
Structured.
So if I'm on stage, I will usually wear a jacket, or sometimes if I'm coaching big audiences and I want to kind of the message to be more important than the outfit, I will go into the black polo neck, black trousers, kind of Steve Jobs vibe.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Only because if I want them to really focus on maybe what I'm showing them or maybe what I'm asking them to think about, but I don't want them to focus on the pink jacket.
Distracted.
Yeah, so it really depends on who I'm in front of.
Yeah, it's so
what I'm trying to say,
Yeah, so that's so fascinating. It's like children. 1, 2, 3 eyes on me, or 1, 2, 3 eyes on the screen.
Yeah, and so I'm a bit like, so one of the things I've always avoided is looking sexy. It's really weird that. I think because I didn't like that kind of attention.
Oh my God.
I think if I go back into where I want to end up and what I'm trying to achieve, I really, be a powerful, confident woman, for me, was a little bit detached from this sexiness. And I don't know if that's right, by the way, because there are so many powerful women who are quite sexy, but I didn't want that to be the thing that I was known for. I also think our age plays into that. I mean, I feel really confident in the fact that once you're over 40 anyway, people don't look at you that
you have a cloak of invisibility.
You are a little bit. I mean, think about, we've got teenagers, right? So they just think we're old anyway. So that's why. But I think that plays to our advantage. There's something about having more authority. And I think in other cultures, that's even more so. I think it's less so in the Western culture.
We are elders now.
So respected in other cultures. So I think we need to, you know, we need to embrace that. So the other part of that is in this new AI-driven, fast-paced, shrinking workforce, you know, older people are being pushed out a bit. And I'm passionate about, we do not want to lose that experience, that authority, those people who can look after teams.
Yeah,
and
manage.
So that's sort of going on a tangent, but you know, this kind of age and this second act, I think it's just, I love it for that reason.
You feel free.
I just feel so excited by all the experience that I've gathered, all the things I've done to develop myself, all the hurdles that I've gone over, all the insecurity that I can just put to, I mean, there's still some insecurities, obviously, but you can put a lot of it to one side and just go, okay, here I am. This is what I'm about, and this is what I want to do, and that's exciting.
So I love that because it is so empowering and nothing to be scared of. You are literally walking in one of your most powerful phases ever. If you were to give yourself a report card for your first act, what would it say?
I think it would be fairly positive. I'm going to be positive. I mean, I worked hard. I was a team player. I was really engaged. I tried really hard. I would say on the things we could improve, I would say probably lacked focus. I didn't really know where I was going.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be in fashion. Always. I went and did a fashion degree, came out of a design, and I came out thinking, oh crap, I don't want to be a designer, but I want to be in that industry.
You want to be in the world.
So when I got into the magazine world, that was like my dream. And I had the best time ever. But I think I wasn't focused on where that was going to take me.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't. I knew that I wasn't going to be an editor. I didn't want to be a publisher, and I sat in a hybrid role, so I did lots of everything.
Yeah.
But I think beyond that, I wasn't sure. And then I got offered this job just sort of out of the blue to be a marketing director at a huge global jewelry company. And I just thought, oh, I'll take that. This is going to be a massive challenge. I mean, I went from no team to having 55 people on my team to having a budget of multiple millions. I mean, tens of millions. I can't even tell you.
Was that daunting?
It was...
Exciting or daunting?
It was both.
Imposter syndrome or I can do this?
So I've never had imposter syndrome because because I always sit with the belief that if somebody's given you the job, they must think there's something you can offer. So, but fear, yes, not imposter syndrome like I don't belong here. It was more like, can I make this work? Yeah, when are they going to find me out? Because I really didn't know what I was doing. And I'd said that in the interview. I was like, I've never done marketing. But he's, the president who gave me the job was like, but we want leadership and you're a great leader.
What a great...
So that's kind of
He's
cool,
a great leader for seeing that in you.
Yeah, I hope
Everything is teachable. But
So,
you can't
yeah.
teach grit. You can't teach leadership.
And resilience.
Resilience.
We have to earn that.
Yeah.
So I think, and this was another like, let's step out of the comfort zone, do something like massive. And it was corporate. So, you're not magazine world, like it's not corporate.
It's the most unprofessional, and I say that with love. The most unprofessional, and you get rewarded for being more unprofessional as possible.
It's a beautiful, unprofessional, creative, gorgeous industry, and I love it. But this was corporate world. This is shareholders. This was quarterly reports. This was budgeting. Yeah, P&Ls, spreadsheets. A lot of that catabolic to me. I mean, but it was an amazing learning experience. Really amazing.
What was that like?
So it was definitely a learning experience. Do you know what? I could see the writing on the wall of the magazine world a little bit. We were in glossy magazines. Like we were shrinking year on year. We'd had so many restructures. And I knew that I wasn't going to get either of those two top positions.
And you didn't even want them.
And I didn't particularly want them. And it's that lack of focus thing again. Yeah. So I just didn't know what next. And I also really wanted to earn some money.
I hear you. And that's not a dirty word.
No. And I'd been, I had several, because I think post 2008, I came back into the office only being able to do 4 days a week at the magazine. They'd kind of shrunk everybody's roles. Wow. And so I started businesses on the side. So I'd done a little business where I was creating retail guides for big retailers. So they were like style guides for staff. Yes. And I'd done it for Harrods, and I'd done it for Hugo Boss, and I'd done it for Swarovski. And so that had been a little business that I'd done. It earned me quite good money. But we kind of then got to the phase where the magazines were going, hang on, all these editors are earning other money outside. You should be giving us a percentage of this, or we should be running it through. And I thought that was really unfair because they paid quite badly.
I mean, it's like have a mascara.
Yeah, and I had 2 kids at this point, and I really couldn't afford to pay for them.
So they were wanting to come in on your hustle, basically.
They were trying to do that, and it became more of a rumor. And I thought, no. So this job came along, and it was a big job. It really was a big job, and I'd never seen a salary like it, and I'd never seen an opportunity to grow like it either. And it gave me the opportunity to really understand and get to grips with business. And so I took it.
I mean, that is the transition from one world to the other.
Yeah.
And what does the term second act mean to you? Because that is also that's the second act within your career. But
it sort of is, but I don't consider it my second act. So I think this second act that we're here to talk about. So COVID, get made redundant from that job, ironically, which was probably the right decision at the time for them. They were doing a massive digital transformation, and I had been brought in for leadership, for more classic marketing skills. I didn't have those skills. Yeah. So I'm sure it was the right decision for them. It gave me an opportunity because I'd never ever had a redundancy package,
which is delicious.
I've
heard. I've been freelance since I was 22, but from my friends,
I had been made redundant before, but it was like 2 weeks' notice. Off you go. But I was young and I didn't have kids, and so you just trot in and find another job. This was like a proper meaty. Would last me over a year.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, if I don't do something now to understand what it is that I really want and what it is that I'm here to do, so find my purpose, and I know that sounds cheesy, but it was important, then I will have missed an opportunity. So I spent the first half of COVID working with a coach to really understand and learn more about myself. And what it is that Jo really wants to do with the rest of her life. No plans to retire. I'm not interested in retirement. I've got all these years ahead of me, the same amount of time as I already had.
Yeah.
So if you think about it,
25
years
the
ahead.
clock is ticking. I think that's
stay healthy.
Yeah, the clock is ticking, and I think it gives you a real boost of there's no time to waste now.
Yeah.
So I mean, you had this. You've changed careers because you had to. It's COVID. What gave you the confidence to do something completely different?
So I landed with my coaching. So the work that I did on myself, I landed on the thing that makes me happiest is making other women feel amazing and confident and powerful. Like it actually makes me feel emotional thinking about it now. It's what I really, really love. And I did it through clothing, and I did it through the magazine. I did it as a leader with my team, and I really came to that conclusion. I was like, okay, well, how do I do that? And at the time, coaching had started to become a bigger thing. I was a bit, I had a bit of shame attached to coaching, because it was like, okay, if you fail, you do coaching. And there was a lot of that narrative. And I thought, no, because I'm going to be the best kick-ass coach in the world. So I started training the following year. So I'd done all my finances. I knew that I had enough, stretching it, had enough to last without an income for 2 years.
Ooh,
yeah, I really stretched. I literally cut back on everything.
That's really that's an investment in yourself.
Yeah, massive, and also a risk, because it meant I used all my savings. Everything I ever had was gone. But I knew that if I needed some kind of qualification to kind of give myself the platform to start, because you can't just go, oh, here I am here to help you. And so I did the training in about a year, really intense. And I did it with an American company, actually, and they encourage you halfway through the training to start taking clients, which is absolutely terrifying. And I did it. I just did everything they told me to do. This was so intentional. I did not plan to find another career. This was going to be part of the fabric of my career. If I'm going to have this mission to help people, particularly women, but all people, because I coach men as well, but find this confidence, help them get to that next stage in their lives, whatever that might be, then I needed to have a qualification. So I really was intentional, and that's what I did.
I love that. I'm a historian. I studied history at university. I love beauty. And you know what Vikings did? They would burn bridges and burn their boats because there's no way back.
Well, yeah, I was really determined to make this happen. I mean, I had no choice, because I'd really, once you're out, I mean, it's really funny, people are always terrified of being made redundant. And I coach a lot of people through redundancy and through that transition phase. It actually is one of the best things that will ever happen to you. And I know that it sounds really trite if you're in it now and you're terrified, you're full of fear. It makes you braver. Yeah. It makes you make stronger decisions about yourself. But also, as soon as you tell people you're available, people don't care anymore about people who've been made redundant, because so many people have been made redundant now.
It's the stigma is gone.
Well, since COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, it was on mass scale.
Yeah. So
great people lost their jobs. Fantastic people were no longer able to do what. So I think that's changed, and so I set myself on this mission.
It's amazing, and you're 52 now.
I am.
What has this decade meant to you?
Oh my God, everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I just feel more aligned with who I am, and I'm extremely determined. I mean, I've always been determined and gritty, and I've always been really focused and present with what I've done. And I've loved it. But now, helping people move from a place of fear and unfocus and lack of alignment with themselves and lack of confidence to somewhere completely different is the most incredible privilege. And so what it's giving me this decade is a feeling that I've never really, or probably never potted it. I've never understood what it was, but I can see now what this kind of gives back.
Incredible. And how did you feel about turning 50? Because it's a big number. When you say it out loud, because I'm 47, I'm turning 50, I'll be very grateful and happy to turn 50. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
But it's also half a century when you say it like that. And that blows my mind. It's like, I'm half a century old? Yeah. Okay, how do you feel about that? How did it make you feel?
I just felt really excited.
Yeah.
I thought I looked great.
You do?
I honestly, I think because I was so happy with the decisions that I'd made. God, I wish I'd done it 10 years ago. Definitely. Yeah. I wish I'd had this moment and the ability, but I wasn't ready. Yeah. This was my journey. So here I am in my journey. I wish I had a little bit more energy.
Yeah.
Menopause is a nightmare.
Yeah. It's real.
It's real. It's real. But I love it. My kids are older, so they're just great to be with. I've gone through quite a few stages. So now we're in this kind of stage where we're kind of building a relationship as almost adults,
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting.
Cocktails and dinner, and tell me how life's going.
Oh,
That's what I'm holding out
honestly, it's a dream.
for.
It's a dream.
Where you can see them as people, and you cannot have to be mummy.
You know, the amazing thing also about being in your 50s is that so many of your friends are now in really senior positions. So you've got an awesome network.
That's really interesting.
And that's powerful. You've got to use it. We've got to learn to use it.
Yeah, it's a skill to use it.
Yeah.
And how do you find confidence as a woman in business? We were just chitty-chatting before, and you told me you come from a military family. You moved loads, which I was like, makes total sense. You do what you do. Because you literally, as a child, had to walk into how many places? How many times did you move?
So we moved, well, my parents moved in total 26 times. I don't even know how many times I've moved. So many. I mean, I was born in Germany. We went back there again after that. We were in another location. We went back there 3 times. I mean, it was just so many different houses. My mum was amazing at making each house look like ours, because the military houses are quite similar. Yeah. They're kind of like a framework. Yeah. And then you put your stuff in it. And they were brilliant at making it feel like home every time. But we used to get quite excited. So I ended up at boarding school at the age of 9, which was also quite scary. And then when we went home, it would be like, which house will be in this time? And what's my bedroom going to look like? And
I'm not being funny. That's where the grit, resilience, and you literally had to transform yourself as a child multiple times. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. You can do it as an adult. Yeah. You can do it as helping people. It makes sense. I think all the lessons you learn as a child, skills you carry with you, and you don't even realize you have them.
And that's the skill. You know, that's a real journey, is to understand what are those skills that you can pull forward. Because I would go back and say, I wasn't a very confident child.
Interesting.
Because I'd been to so many new schools, and every time you're kind of trying to crack into somebody else's friendship group, and exactly. It's awful. It's not very easy. Yeah. So I think I started school when I finally got to the school that I ended up staying at until I left. Really underconfident, but it didn't take long to kind of break through that. So I think also we can, whatever age you are, you can go back and say, sometimes the thing that has really challenged you all your life becomes the thing that will make you.
Oh yeah, I call it kiss the scars.
Kiss the scars. I love that expression.
I tell my children, it's a gaping wound now. You got to clean it out, heal it, stitch it up, and one day it will turn to a scar that you will kiss and be thankful for.
Yeah, you have to earn it, and that takes time, and everybody's running at a different timeline.
Literally.
So that's really important. I think we get fed so much social media about these young successes and people who've done
millionaire by 21, and you're like
building businesses, over and over again. I'm only 23, and all of that, and that makes it feel so difficult. I just think it. You feel like you're failing, but I think, and this is the important thing that everybody should know about midlife, is that you come into yourself a little bit more. You've got some experience under your belt, and maybe your time isn't in your 20s. Maybe, like at my 20s, I was just like having fun. It was a bit of a car crash, to be honest. I was clubbing. It was the 90s, excuse me.
Yay, golden time. Little boss, big boss, little boss, big boss.
We would go to work from the club.
Yeah.
No one does that anymore, do they?
You'd splash your face with water and you'd look fresh.
And you'd look,
because you're 21.
Yeah. And you can thrive on no sleep. I was going to put messy as one of my words, actually, because my 20s were really messy, but I think that was a beautiful thing.
Needed to happen. Yeah. What would you do differently now in your second act compared to your first act? Me, not the Red Bulls and the messiness.
No, all that's gone.
Yeah.
I'm really clean living.
What's the difference? How are you doing things differently?
I think I'm giving myself a bit of a break all the time and just trusting the process a bit more. Yeah. So it's, whatever, it takes time. I've learned a brand new skill that I learned when I was 48. That's going to take time to bed in. Yeah. I cannot expect to be, the super coach 2 years later. You've got to go through the experiences and you've got to go through the highs and lows. So giving myself a bit of a break. I think I'm much more focused on my routine and my well-being and recognizing when I'm really tired. I definitely push myself at times. Yeah. But when my body goes, you're really knackered, Jo, I go, okay, I'll give you some rest.
You listen. I never listened.
No.
In my first act. And your body pays a price. Yeah. Gained 11 stone, type 2 diabetic, Yeah. And it's that respect of no, actually. Yeah. And saying no, that's a huge thing, I think. Yeah. Did you learn to say no?
I'm good at saying no. Yeah.
Were you always good at it?
No, because I had FOMO. But now I really don't have FOMO. I just do what I think is important for me or my family, and I'm happy with that.
And what's been your biggest learning since starting your second act?
My biggest learning. my biggest learning, I think, and something that I sort of wish I'd known, I think my biggest learning is if you can be aligned with who you really are, and you're living your life in that way, then the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
Because you're not having to mask, which is tiring. You're not having to live in somebody else's agenda, which is tiring. You're not having to please people, which is tiring. And it's not that I don't want to make people happy, because of course I do, but I was definitely a pleaser. I was definitely happy to work my hardest for other people's gain.
Yes, that's a big one.
And, you know, and not get validated for it. Oh, it's fine because they're tired. Oh, they're busy. Oh, they're really successful. Oh, they're really powerful. I don't need that. No, I'm sorry. So I don't do any of that. I am working under my own timeline, my own steam, and that is making things kind of exciting. I mean, I'm excited generally about it.
But it's part of the journey. You have to learn and unlearn.
Do you know, it's the part of where we were brought up, Ateh.
Yeah, we're the last generation.
I really do think that. And the struggles that we see, so I coach a lot of leaders, and the struggles they're having with Gen Z is because that generation were not brought up like that. So those kids were brought up, and I say kids, they're 28 at their oldest now. Yeah. So that generation were brought up with a seat at their parents' decision-making table. You and I, no. No, you know, we just did what we were told.
Yeah,
be quiet.
Be quiet, be pleasing.
Go and tidy your room, go to your room, you know, all of that. And we did it because that's how we were brought up. And so generationally, we're so different. The challenges that the two generations are having is because of the upbringing, I think.
Gen X. My children, to mock me, they call me an elder millennial, which upsets me. I'm like Gen X and proud. Yes. And they're little alphas because they're turning 14.
Oh, they are, yeah.
They're alphas. And just in one generation, they're my children. They are so different.
They're so different.
And I'm so pleased they're so different. Yeah. But literally, God bless all the women who I grew up with, my powerful, wonderful mom and aunties, but they were brought up to make vol au vents and be pleasing and be a size 10. Yeah. That was the messaging I got.
Yeah.
And
we went into the workplace under that as well, because if you think about it, you know, when we started our first jobs, you know, go into the fashion cupboard and pack boxes all day. Yeah. And nobody will tell you why. Nobody will tell you when to stop.
Do it.
You just do it. And if you're there till 10 p.m., you're still there.
God, flashbacks. For me, it was just organising like mascaras. And then packing and doing organising the beauty cupboard, packing up and doing returns and photo shoots and being very, very grateful to be doing it unpaid.
Yeah.
For 2 years.
Yes, unpaid.
Have we, could we say that out loud? Were you paid?
Well, some of my jobs, no. But I mean, I haven't ever been paid. I mean, I wasn't, until I got the big job. I never really was, but I was so happy in the work that I did. I think we were told, we were taught that you are so lucky to have this job in this fashion world, which is so hard to get into.
As a coach, what are some of the lessons that you have learned from the people you've coached? Because it's always a two-way relationship. So you give, but also you receive. What has been some of the biggest lessons from your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I've coached such a variety of people. Some of them just demonstrate so much grit that I'm just in awe of them. And I know I've got it, but of course we all have a little lack of self-belief at times. And some of the people I've worked with are just so focused on where they want to go. So really having a focus and a vision of the North Star. And it doesn't have to be a thing. It's not like, you know, saying I want to be that particular job or that position but it could be. I've had a client who said, all I want to do is earn $1 million a year.
Interesting.
Go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Before or after tax? Sorry. That's just like, that's my little ADHD break.
Probably before tax.
Okay. After tax.
But I mean, you know, that is a goal, right? You might say, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But at least they know what they want, right? And that's amazing. So I think when people know what they want, that to me is it helps me. Like, Jo, you've got to know what you want. Otherwise, how do you know how to get there? Like, we have to set the direction to sail in.
Yeah.
And by the way, on the way, and it always happens, we might surpass those goals and start making other goals, or we might go off on a little bit of a, you know, tributary and come back to that. But as long as you know where you're going, so what it does when you know what you want is that you can block out the noise.
Yeah.
You don't go, oh, maybe I'll do that because somebody's offered it to me and it sounds really good.
Saboteurs as
Is that going to get me to where I want? No, it's not. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to go here and keep going. And that's really powerful.
The most lost I've ever felt is when I didn't have a clear goal. And I've always been a very goal-orientated person.
Yeah.
But, you know, with the collapse of my marriage and suddenly you're dealing with chaos and you're on clean up on aisle 10. And instead of being like, I'm going over there, that's when, and so setting goals is so important.
Yeah, it is. It's
And
really important.
and are you a vision boardy person? Are you like what?
I'm in everything. I love it all. I mean, it really depends on what my client, what works for them and what kind of brain they are. You know, some people love a vision board. Some people love like just a Post-it note. Some people love to have a list. Everybody's so different in what it is that they want to achieve. Some people like, you know, I don't really do. I mean, manifesting is just about goals, isn't it? It's about setting a goal and then getting that. But I don't really. I mean, that's probably not so in my scope. But it is more about the more we can determine what that goal is, then we have the ability to say yes and no. We have the ability to focus, and having focus is everything, because you can put your energy into that. And the more we know where focus goes, energy flows.
Literally,
right? So that's the goal.
And blocking out the noise.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. If you could give any advice to your younger self, she's in the club on a podium next to me with a Red Bull dancing.
She is.
To, I don't know, some drum and bass. What would you say to her? Apart from, you look amazing.
You look amazing.
You look amazing. Don't be self-conscious. Well, I'd say to myself, please don't be self-conscious. You're never going to look hotter. What would you say to her?
I'm going to disagree with that.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
I actually think I look better now than I did then. Why? Because I'm more confident now.
Yeah.
I'm more who I am now. I'm not going to wear a crop top, obs.
Oh.
Mind you, I never did, can I just say?
I did.
I wish I had. I missed that opportunity.
You know what? It's so, isn't it so interesting? Went into Topshop when I was 30 and I saw this girl wearing a rah-rah skirt and I started crying. I'm like,
oh my goodness,
it's inappropriate. I can never wear a rah-rah skirt.
No.
But does it matter? Can
my
you wear
granny made my rah-rah skirt.
Oh.
She made it in lime green polyester.
I
remember it.
That's the most loving thing I've heard. That is so sweet. And she was like, that would be cool.
I don't know if I wore it that often, but I was so excited to get one.
A rah-rah skirt,
What would I say? I would say, Jo, relax and trust the process.
Yeah.
It's a process. Life is a process, and we all develop at different times. And the number of times I have done talks, in fact, I'm doing a talk tomorrow, that somebody will stand up probably around their mid to late 20s, and they'll start saying, it'll just be word salad. And I'm really worried about meeting somebody. I really want to have children, and I haven't been really successful enough, and I haven't bought a house, and I haven't got a flat, and I haven't got... It's like...
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully, touch wood, we're living longer.
Yeah.
We are going into a new phase of the world where there are going to be multiple careers.
Literally.
Right? You're not going to pick one and stick with it. That is never going to happen. It's not going to happen.
It's the opposite. Again, we were brought up a jack of all trades, a master of none. And now it's the opposite. It's like, oh my God, you just do one job. How sad.
Now you've got to be agile.
How sad for
and
you.
you know, in a way, our education system is not set up for what's about to happen. So we need to be teaching our children resilience. We need to go through, get the scars. We need to trust that that's useful.
Yeah.
We're not going to, why protect everybody to the nth degree so they cannot be resilient? We have to allow them to fall and get the scars.
You have to get a bit messy.
And so relax, like it's okay. Like trust the process. And you know, we are going to end up with multiple things. I think they're saying something like people will have an average of 5 different careers.
Yeah.
You know, at once.
At once.
Potentially.
I don't
portfolio is a big thing, right? Portfolio careers. And so many of the women that I coach in their 50s, early 50s, late 40s, I'm coaching them into a portfolio transition. So they're into non-executive directorships, or starting a business, or working for a charity, or advising, or mentoring, and that's kind of where I see people going. And so again, you know, I have a podcast, The Midlife Entrepreneur, and the whole purpose of that is because I want to speak to people who've started businesses post 40 and to give people the inspiration, the motivation, and the encouragement that is also possible.
Literally, because you're taught it's a young person's game. And I started my business, my brand at 45, 5 days after I blew up my 26-year marriage.
Wow, that was a week.
I was just like, I was crying and twirling. And it was transformational, and it was amazing in every single possible way. And the lie we have all been sold that your life stops at 40, or you can't do things, or you don't have it's the lie that our generation was spoon-fed.
It is.
And I have never felt the most powerful, the most fabulous, the most inspired, the most myself than I have now in my second act. Did you know that from our mid-20s, our bodies make less collagen? And of course, menopause accelerates the whole process, so that by the age of 55, most women have lost about half of their natural collagen in their skin. What the hell? Collagen is something that I've been looking into for some time, and it's so reassuring to find a brand just like Absolute Collagen who've done all the hard work and research for me. It's a simple daily supplement that stimulates your body's natural collagen production, improving skin from within, and their clinical trials speak for themselves. 100% of women said that their wrinkles were reduced, that it helped boost their skin elasticity and their hair. Absolute Collagen is the perfect partner for Second Act. They understand women in midlife because they've been there. Their mission is to help us redefine ourselves in this bold new chapter, glowing from the inside out thanks to their balance of beauty and biology. I love this no-fuss approach because Absolute Collagen is all about embracing the life you're living right now to find the best version of yourself at every age. The chance to love the person you're becoming, more confident, more potential, more you. So if you're curious, try the Absolute Collagen commitment and see what it does for you. Absolute Collagen is now available on 3 for 2 in Boots stores and at boots.com. So Jo, I'd love to talk to you about starting businesses, starting a new career in your 40s. I did too with Ateh Jewel Beauty, Blush of Dreams. At 45, and you were 48, you said, when you started this?
Yes, I changed careers at 48. I actually started my business. So I started my business probably 2 years later, an actual limited company.
Yes.
Because I was just transacting as myself for a while. And then I thought, I've got to start a business because I was working with big corporates and they require you to have, be VAT registered and everything. So then my new business also will have launched by the time this show comes out. So that's the Ascent Associates is my new company, which is a career transitions coaching service and outplacement support service. Do you know what? I don't know about you, but I felt really excited by it. Yeah. But what you recognize is that when you start a business, you're doing everything yourself.
Everything.
That's the real learning. And it's quite hard. Learning to do VAT returns, learning to, or even registering, learning to do, to copy, everything you do.
It's admin for me.
It's everything yourself.
It's death by spreadsheet. It's a lot. Especially when you're creative. We worked in magazines and suddenly now you're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, the P11D, what's that?
What?
Yeah, no, that bit I don't enjoy at all. I hate doing my corporation tax. I'm not so you have to find people to do it for you.
Yes.
So I think that's the thing I learned very early on from speaking to a lot of entrepreneurs was, you have your strengths.
Yeah.
You are not going to grow your business by sitting in the weeds of the stuff that you're not good at.
Yeah.
So find people to do that. So I found an accountant who is really reasonable, who helps me and gives me advice on everything that I need to do and understand when it comes to tax and all of those things. And then I have various consultants and people that I can talk to, obviously a web designer and creative, somebody who does my photography. I've got people that I can speak to about every other element. I'm pretty good at the social. I think that's our kind of magazine training. Yes. So social, although mine's not as massive as yours, it's growing gently. Yeah. Trust the process. It's growing gently. So I'm good at that, and I'm good at writing. So I'm good at kind of doing some thought leadership on LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. But it's more the business stuff that I will get advice on. And as I grow the Ascent, which is this new business, I will be working with associates as well. So I'm going to grow it out sensibly. I'm not going to take on too many staff because it's too much of a burden for the business.
Slowly, growth slow.
So growth is slow. But the other thing I think is really important for you and I both recognise, and I think it's something that women are really bad at, is we are not good at looking for investment. We tend to try and self-fund. And you cannot grow if you self-fund unless you've got loads of money. I don't have any. So for me, I recognise that with the midlife entrepreneur, so with that brand, that growth will have to come through investment. And that's the new journey that I'm about to embark on. So I'm doing an investor deck as we speak.
Oh, it's so
all out of my comfort zone. Never done it.
It's because it's selling yourself in a way.
You're asking for money as well, and that's not comfortable. I mean, I've been
accountability.
If you're probably the same as me. I have worked since the moment I could work. I have worked and earned my own money. I've never not earned my own money. Yeah. And so for me, asking for somebody else's money, then them entrusting you with that money feels really uncomfortable. But this is the space that we're going to have to get into if you want to grow something quickly and you don't want to miss opportunities. So I've been researching a lot about, female founders get, I think, 1% of all investment.
And then if you want to add black female founders, it's something like point.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
I spent a year going out looking for investment, and it was just 1955 A Handmaiden's Tale,
Oh.
who will really be running your business. It won't really be you in it. We'd feel more comfortable if you had a CFO. And I remember saying, a CFO or a penis in the room? Because I think I'm not quite understanding what. Anyway, they didn't like me. I got the best investor with Jane Henderson, who's incredible. And then she got her business. She got William Berry on board. And I've had incredible support. And it's been, you have to audition your investor as well. They have to be someone who you want to go on a wild ride with, who will have your back and bring things to the table. Still men dangling golden keys and checkbooks at you, and it's and whoever pays the bills is the boss, and so they have the power to who comes to market, who does really well. And I think that needs to change as well.
I saw or read that Tory Burch has pledged to invest $1 billion in female-founded businesses over the next few years, and I think that could be the beginning of a change,
the shift.
Because when I think it was the Forbes 500 or something said that 80% of female-founded businesses are women over 50 for a start, and who've had loads of experience, by the way. So this is why it's so fascinating. People starting businesses in midlife, they've had historically around 20 years probably of business already. They know what good looks like generally. So you'd think they were a safer bet than some young startup who's just left college or has dropped out of college to start a business.
Also, throw in if motherhood, because no one can juggle like a working mother.
No, it's true. It's true. It is a real juggle, and it is incredible how we're able to, adapt during the day from one hat to another, and it's an amazing skill. But there is something. So there's something really exciting. I think we're on the precipice of something that's going to change.
I hope so.
I hope. And I haven't gone through that investment journey yet, but about to. So I'm excited for that.
We grew up where we were taught to scratch each other's eyes out to get the resources. We reject that. Let's hold hands and skip towards the finish line together, and boosting each other and raising and lifting each other up. So, I don't think it has to be either or. We can all win together.
Yeah, I hope so. And the other thing that I've really noticed is that a lot of the entrepreneurs that I'm interviewing or talking with, they've got real purpose-driven businesses. And so that's got to be something worth investing in, hasn't it? That's for the goodness of humanity. That's to help other people. That's to add, something to the world that is going to be beautiful and inclusive and helpful and a service. And I wonder whether that, is something worth considering as well. Do we need more? I don't know. I mean,
it's purpose versus profit. It's purpose over profit. And again,
that's difficult for investors.
It's very, very difficult. But I mean,
there can be both. You can have both.
You can have both. I think that is where we're going.
I'm passionate about education. So the platform that I'm building is all about education. And that can be profitable and have purpose. I mean, there are two things. And if you think about a lot of these, there's some really cool AI businesses coming out that are about education. And they're great. They're affordable, they're accessible, and they've got purpose because they're educating. And that's great. So I think we can take all of this and hopefully, and go out into the world and
do something good and make some cash.
And make people feel good, which is what you're doing.
Literally.
Your brand.
Well, it's all about being joyful. To me, it's about being seen and celebrated. I've been in beauty for 24 years, and when I first started, you'd have a foundation launch and there'd be 6 colors and people were like, aren't we amazing? And the darkest color would be Beyonce shade, and everyone would be like, we're amazing, this is so diverse. And I'd be like, but what about me? And just being in the room was quite triggering for people, because I was always the black one. I was always the one who looked like me. I was never in rooms of power where anyone looked like me or so I was always kind of like pushing. I was always on the frontier. I was always, going out and pushing and pushing and pushing. So when I started my own brand, it was all about, I want this to be purposeful. I want it to be inclusive. Everyone is invited to my beauty party, because I was never I never felt invited to a lot of beauty parties.
What did they say, by the way, if you said, what about my shade?
Oh, it's very difficult to formulate, and we're working on it, and it might come in 6 months' time.
Right.
So
we've clearly shown that that's not the case.
Literally. And so, you know what? It's about what your value. So always.
I spoke to a guest on my show the other day. She said she was inspired by her mother, who'd set up a bakery and something else post-war. My grandmother was an immigrant. They came over with absolutely nothing. She'd never worked. She was 26, I think, when they got to London. She started her business and looked after the whole family, having never worked before. and managed to keep everybody going with her business that she just did. I mean, it's amazing.
And it makes me so happy. It is exhausting running a business. It is exhausting doing what you're doing. And you have to remind yourself every now and again, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, you do. And that's a really good point, actually, because I think we don't want to paint a sort of fantastical picture of running a business. It's really hard work. You work all the time. You don't have weekends off.
No.
I mean, I did not do an awful lot yesterday and I felt so guilty.
Me too.
And actually then one of my kids pointed out, but you spoke to the web guy for an hour and a half. Oh yeah, I did do that. So I did actually work yesterday. So, you know, so that we have to kind of a little bit, give ourselves a little bit of talking to slow down, to relax, you know, because you do need to rest.
Yeah.
And that's really important. But I think it's important to recognize that it is not something you can do if you're not prepared to really work hard. And
you have to want it.
The upside is you're working hard for something that you've created, that you are going to build, and that is going to hopefully benefit lots of people. So that kind of is quite exciting, isn't it?
Very exciting. And I think you have inspired so many people at their kitchen table who will be doing a business plan now as we speak, or scribbling, or
do it. Come on,
mood
girls.
board, drawing on, but just do it and just know that you can do it, and it's okay. And don't be scared to fail. What is your relationship with failure? Because I find that is a big thing with entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's not great.
You have to fail to win. But
yeah,
that's really
you do.
hard.
I have got really comfortable with it, actually, because I have failed at loads of stuff since I've started doing this. I've tried things, they haven't worked, and I just keep trying it. And actually, the way I look at it is more like, well, I'll try it. If it doesn't work, that's annoying and disappointing, but I'm going to learn something that I won't then do the next time. So I just keep seeing it as a kind of, you know, it's just progress.
Yeah.
And you have to, and entrepreneurs fail all the time. And by the way, and this, I would say I'm not a natural entrepreneur.
That's interesting.
Because I am probably, although I'm gritty and I'm prepared to try things, I don't jump into things really quickly. I'm still managing perfectionism, which I'm trying to work on. I always say I'm a perfectionist in recovery.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely trying to keep working on that. And I have words of myself in the mirror, and I just actually say, just do it, Jo, just do it. Come on. And I'll sort of give myself that kind of jivvy myself along. Because when I work with real entrepreneurs, what is so incredible about them is this ability to just do it, unperfected, untried and tested. And that makes me feel uncomfortable, because I'm like, oh my God. But actually that's how they keep perpetuating this energy, is they just keep trying, keep failing, keep trying, keep failing, keep doing it. And they keep going. And you know, when you meet a real kind of serial entrepreneur, that is the kind of quality they have. And I want to bottle that. So people pleasers tend to be perfectionists. Yeah. So we have this kind of double-edged sword that we need to work on. And that takes time. It's like getting out of a habit.
Yeah.
And because you feel discomfort when you upset somebody, you feel discomfort if you say something that you don't think is right, or if you haven't put something out into the world that's polished.
Yeah.
It physically feels weird.
Literally.
We have to get over that.
Yeah.
Because no one else notices. Everybody's level of perfectionism is different anyway.
So Jo, thank you so much for coming on, inspiring me. I'm literally whipping out my Pritt stick and vision board as we speak after this and getting new focus and new goals. And thank you so much. This is amazing.
Ateh, it's so great to chat to you. I loved it.
It's time for your second act, where we read emails and voice notes sent in by you, my wonderful listeners. This one is from Tracy. It says, "Hi Ateh, I have an idea for a business that I've wanted to create for about 10 years now, and I've just found out I've been made redundant. For the first time, I actually have the time and space to make my idea happen, but I'm terrified. A big part of me just wants to find another job, but I know this is my one chance, make or break opportunity. How do we get the confidence?" So, Jo, what would you say to our listener who, literally what you were saying about being redundant is a strange gift? What do you have to say?
Yeah, it's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, we're going to hear these stories more and more. I hate to say that. It does sound like I'm kind of doom mongering, and I'm not, but it is the case. It is what's going to happen. So the first thing I would say is you just have to go through your series of emotions when you get made redundant, because it is a very emotional time for anyone. And I think people really misunderstand how that feels, because you feel rejected. There's an element of shame, there's fear, there's all of those things. And unfortunately, our fight or flight in us can make us do quite erratic things. So I think allow yourself to go through, if you've got time on your side, if you've got a package, or if you're secure, hopefully she's got some financial security, then allow yourself to go through the range of emotions. So that's the first thing I always do with clients, is just accept that you're going to feel all of these things. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of loss. that you feel, and you feel rejected and you feel shame.
It's deeply personal.
It is. Yeah. It is. It doesn't matter how many people were made redundant. You've been chosen not to work at the company anymore, and it was out of your control. And there is something that, you know, as a human, we don't like that. So that's the first thing I would say. So don't make any decisions based on that.
Grieve.
So go through the process of grieving and come to that acceptance moment of, okay, well, here I am in this new phase. What am I going to do with it? And then the second thing I would always say is make a financial plan. So based on what you have, where you are, whether you're with a partner or I don't know, I always ask my clients, how long can you last without an income? Some people, they can last, they don't have to have an income. So that's great. What a joyful position to be in. Some people will say to me, I've got some savings, I've got redundancy, I've got 6 months. Whatever it is, make that plan and then work out what your outgoings are. Because there is something incredible that happens is that we all spend a lot less money when we know that it's limited. So I was able to last 2 years, not because I had so much money that I was able to last 2 years. I cut back on everything.
You were conscious about
everything. I I no longer had, I used to have a lovely cleaner. She was amazing. I had to, stop because I can't afford it anymore. I didn't go and get my hair cut. I didn't go and get my hair dyed as often. I did it myself. All those things, I made a conscious decision to stop spending.
How do you do that? Because I think there's two types of people, not saying anything, but like when there's a, let me cut back and be sensible. And there's the people like me with the ADHD who are like, let's just go to hell in a handbasket, people. And I just go like harder. But how do you have that discipline?
So I just gave myself an allowance. So I put all the redundancy money into a savings account. Ooh. And I paid myself each month.
So you were controlled.
I really was. I was so controlled on everything. And I cut back on a lot of the luxuries. Obviously, I was fortunate. I hate to say, we were in COVID, so we weren't going out. So that made a massive difference. Are you married?
Do you have a partner? Do you have two
incomes
in the
we
house?
had to submit, but we were all impacted by COVID, by the way. So it wasn't an easy time for us. But we were very, we were spending money on food, of course, because we were all spending, but we weren't going out. So that made it easy. I couldn't go to the hairdresser. So that made it easy. So I learned to do it myself. I wasn't getting manis and pedis anymore. So I just got into the habit of just doing it myself. So I just cut back on all the sort of excess. So make the financial plan would be the second thing I would say to this reader, and know where you're at. Okay, how long do you have? And then you work backwards from that. Right. What is the business? Then I would ask myself these questions. Is it something I'm passionate about? Because you have to be passionate about a business because it is going to consume your life. So first of all, am I passionate about it? Do I have the skills to do it? i.e., am I going to be good at this?
Yeah.
So there's no point me saying I want to become, be an accountant. I'm terrible at that.
There's some things which are not for
even
you.
if I trained, I'm not passionate, I'd be not good at it. So I'm not. So you've got to think about those. Passionate, have I got the skills to do it? Is it what the world needs? This is the ikigai concept. Do you know that concept, that Japanese concept, which is brilliant? So the ikigai is the convergence of all these things. Ooh. So is it what the world needs, and can I get paid for it?
Yeah.
So you need to know, don't do something ridiculous that's going to be like pushing water uphill, that you're going to have to convince people to buy because it's weird or unusual or they've never heard of it. Things that people haven't heard of are expensive. But could it be something that you think people would want? And then you've got to think about, how do I price that? Where am I going to sit? And then she needs to understand, who is she selling it to? Is there a market? Like when you came up with your beauty business, you recognized, because you had been in that market of people who were not served.
Yes.
So you knew that there was an opportunity, even though Rihanna had a collection, or Beyonce, or whoever's brought out a collection, there is room for everybody, right? But you know that there's an audience there because you've been part of that audience of people who were underserved. So she needs to be able to see that as well. Like, do not do something that is going to be difficult to sell.
Yeah. Or there you think it's something you should do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so whether it be a service or a product or whatever it is, because she doesn't say in her email, then think about all those things and then start creating a plan.
I love the start with the spine of structure of money and work backwards. So you have to get that sense of excitement. What could you be doing all day long and just get paid for it?
I totally agree. And one of the questions I often ask my clients is, if I were to find Ateh age 8 or 10, what would you be doing? Right? Because this is when you're most free, because you're a child, right? And you're just playing. What would I find you doing? Right? So I was at that age, I was playing with my Cindy dolls. By the way, I had a black Cindy. Oh, did you know that existed?
Yeah, because my auntie sent me one from New York.
So my auntie sent me one. I had like 10 dolls.
Yeah.
Right, so I'd be in my bedroom playing with my dolls. What was I doing with them? I was making outfits for them. Why? Because I loved fashion so much. And I did it for hours and hours and hours. I'd make up stories. Was there Ken? No, there was no Ken. I wasn't interested in that kind of building, like being the boy-girl thing. It was more about making their house amazing. What could she wear? And she's now sweeping into, and it was all about that. So I often ask my clients, what would you be doing when there is total freedom for you? But we should tell our reader to do, like, think about what were you doing? Because that is really who you are.
All of that at the same time.
Yeah.
Like writing,
and I always think that about
set
now.
design,
We've gone into this whole world where, we put these kids through this education system, which is so restrictive to their creativity and who they really are. But, if you think about some of the kind of, my son is unbelievably good at Minecraft.
Yeah.
Like, he builds the most incredible things, right?
So he's got that brain.
He's so creative. Visually, he's amazing. He's very dyslexic. So he's not great at reading and stuff. Why am I going to force him to sit down and try reading? He's never going to want to do it.
He thinks in 3D.
No, but I'm just saying, I think we've got a system that restricts and restrains people, and no wonder you go into your 20s in a bit of a car crash, because you come out having done a degree that you were like, well, that was useless because it doesn't really fit who I am. I think we need to, personally, I think we need to relook at it. And I know some are more of the forward-thinking entrepreneurs are now educating their kids at home themselves and not putting them through the system. Yeah, because we're going to need different skills. Think about AI. It's just like you're going to need to train people to be really agile around technology and to work out how to use it and to think creatively outside the box and to connect with much more of their human emotion to make all this stuff work out.
You have to be more
yourself. We have to have all of those things. So I think it's a fascinating time. I think it's a scary time, but I think the education system is going to date really quickly in the next 5 years. So our reader who's written in about, she's thinking traditionally.
Yeah.
That's probably, where do I start? Oh my God, it's got to be. We can do all the steps. You can do it at different times. Doesn't matter. But she just needs to make sure that she knows that she can feed and clothe and put a roof over her head, and that's okay. And how long do I have to do that? And then she can create her timeline. Yeah. I think makes it easier.
Also know how much money it costs to run your life.
So quite often I speak to people who are looking at transitioning out of a traditional corporate job. They want to start a business. They've got financial restraints, as most of us do, so they're scared. Right, I hate my job. It just doesn't do anything for me, blah, blah. Okay, but if we look at your job differently, as in this is the thing that's going to give you the ability to go to the next phase of your career, how would you look at your job then? Because maybe you'd look at it differently. Maybe you would you'd experience your job differently if it was giving you the stepping stone into the next phase, which you're really excited about and that you're focused on.
You see it for the value it is.
Correct. We have to get out of the mindset that we are who we are, not what we do. And this was the biggest thing that we cannot allow the job to be our only identity. Our identity is our identity, and we own that forever.
Thank you so much, Joy. That was amazing. I hope that's helpful. Let us know what you do and how we can support you. Say hello and write in and tell us how it goes. If you have any questions or thoughts about life in Second Act that you would like to ask myself or my guests to answer, please send us an email to secondactpod@hellomagazine.com. I can't wait to hear all about it. Thanks so much, Jo, for coming on. This has been an incredible episode. I'm totally inspired. I'm getting my mood board and my vision boards out. Let's do this.